Hello everyone, my name is Artem Medvedev. You're listening to News and Views on the Duke Radio. This is the show for the week of May 30th. Due to a lot of work that I need to complete this week, I'll make today's show a little bit shorter, but I promise to try and come back to larger, longer shows starting next week. I wanted to focus on just two events that happened in the past week, and I wanted to start with Stephen Harper's mission accomplished moment. As you know, Stephen Harper has announced that our mission in Afghanistan has been a great success, and Afghanistan is no longer a threat to the international community. And as several of my friends have remarked, when watching the footage of Stephen Harper talking about this, they were looking for the mission accomplished signs in the backgrounds because this was just too reminiscent of George Bush's declaration of the United States of America's victory in the war in Iraq. But either because this has already been done or for some other reasons, Stephen Harper decided not to fly in on a jet and make this into a larger show as the American ex-president did. Thus, this presents a very rare opportunity to thank Stephen Harper for something, and I really am thankful that at least in this, we did not have the same kind of spectacle as the Americans did. But I was actually listening to an interview by a former British ambassador to Afghanistan who was asked as to what he thinks about the conservative leader's remarks. The British ambassador had been working there for years. It was replaced just a few years ago. And he has been always a critic of putting more violence into Afghanistan and solving the problem in Afghanistan by just putting more soldiers there and escalating the violence. And when he was asked as to what he thought about the Canadian Prime Minister's remarks, the diplomat said that this is maybe necessary for political reasons, but true success in Afghanistan will come only when we have political dialogue, when we try to engage all the parties that are there into this dialogue, and when we stop trying to enforce law and stability as we understand it by just putting more soldiers on the ground and bombing areas, etc., etc. And I happen to agree with this point of view. History, if it has taught us anything, shows that solving this kind of problems by force is ineffective, is very local, and very temporary. Therefore, dialogue is necessary in order for the sacrifices of the Canadian forces in Afghanistan to bring lasting stability and peace to Afghanistan and to Afghani people. Another important remark of the week is from the outgoing Auditor General Sheila Fraser. As you know, Mrs. Fraser has been a great advocate for more transparency and more accountability in Canadian government of all levels. And at her last press conference, what Sheila Fraser said really spoke to me personally, and I think spoke to quite a lot of social democrats and progressives in Canada. What Sheila Fraser said is that until we learn to pay proper attention and give proper support to the most vulnerable people in Canada, until then we can be a prosperous nation, but we will not be a great nation. And I think this is a very important thing for Sheila Fraser, who has been, the watchdog looking into detail on government waste and government lies and the way that government has been disregarding very important and very diverse groups in Canada for years. In her career, Sheila Fraser has taught Canadians a lot, and I think by this last press conference, she may have given us as Canadian citizens the most important lesson, because she really knows what is happening. She's been around for a long time. She's seen a lot of very difficult situations and very strange choices made by governments. Therefore, I think that we really need, as a society, to listen to what Sheila Fraser was saying and consider what we can do for the most vulnerable groups, for seniors, for the disabled, for children, for many other groups that have been neglected for years, because a society is only as good as it treats the most vulnerable groups in it. And I wanted to end this week's show on this idea, just to give you time to absorb and think about what Sheila Fraser said about an idea of a different Canada, a Canada where no one is left behind, a Canada where we don't have to even discuss that the most vulnerable groups are being forgotten by our government. And also I wanted just to encourage you to send me questions, feedback, any comments that you might have. I very much enjoy doing these shows, and I would really love to hear from you or my listeners, because it's been a great experience and I'm glad to continue it now that the election is over. And I would like to continue getting more questions and more feedback from you. So if you would like to ask me questions or you have ideas for future shows, please get in touch with me. My Twitter account is Artem Medv, that's ARTEMMEDV, and my blog is available at artemmedv.blogspot.com. I would really love to hear from you, and at this I'd like to thank you very much for your continued support and attention to this show, and wish you a great day. Thank you. You're listening to News and Views on Leduc Radio.